This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome everybody to the latest edition of Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me as always, my cousin, here today to break down all the things happening with the Tigers, the Red Wings, the Lions, things going on in the world of Detroit sports. My guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? Podcasting time, baby.
I mean, we've got a jam-packed show. We've got a ton to cover. I mean, we say jam-packed show a lot of times, but today we're covering basically all the major sports in the Detroit area. This is nuts. There's a ton to talk about. This is the cool thing about what happens with baseball. When baseball comes back this time of year, you've got hockey, you've got basketball, you've got baseball, you've got the Lions making moves, the draft's right around the corner. So much to talk about, and I get to do it with you, so this should be a really good show.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, tick, tick, tick. Dwayne Casey and, Dwayne Casey's still the coach of the Pistons. Blashill is still the head man with the Red Wings. I'm surprised, but, when everybody's culture in Detroit is so happy, I'm certain Blashill probably will get the axe, and we'll get a quick review of that later. But, yeah, it's interesting when we look at Detroit sports and their culture, and a team that's looking to kick off the season with a winning culture is the Detroit Tigers. And we got to look at the first couple series. I was there on Wednesday, got to take in an afternoon matinee, set the schedule up where I think at this point in time I'm going to take in one game every couple series. And so a 1 o'clock game on a Wednesday afforded me the opportunity to check them out. And boy, was I disappointed in Eduardo Rodriguez. It was a rainy day, of course. The defense behind him wasn't spectacular. So all those runs that you saw given up by the Tigers were not charged to him. Actually, his ERA went down after Wednesday. But it was interesting, if you just check the lead up to that game, it was basically a revenge game. That's what you brought to a revenge game against your old team, a team that didn't offer you what the Tigers did. And so when they offered him that contract, 5 years, $77 million, they said, you're the number one. And everybody said, wait a minute, this guy's numbers don't look exactly right. They're trending downward. What on earth would allow Al Avila to look at those numbers that he put up with the Red Sox? Now he got experience. He obviously has a World Series ring, was instrumental against the Dodgers. The tape, if you go back, he was it. He was a major factor in their win. But in my opinion, big concern. I don't think it's an overreaction. They're 2-4, lost the first two series, and in essence, besides a small comeback on Wednesday, their pitching has not been good enough to support the team. Rodriguez, Mize, Skubal struggled. Tariq Skubal is somebody that was performing well in spring training. Look, you can't just be like relax all the time because it's a trend. It's a slow start by the pitching staff, which was supposed to be something that maybe was a strength. So I don't feel like it's an overreaction to state that I'm concerned about the pitching. It wasn't good. Rodriguez got banged around. His control wasn't exactly there. He didn't look like he was a dominant pitcher. And so I left that going, oh my God, this was the guy you invested that much money in? Casey Mize, first start was disappointing. And obviously Tariq Skubal really, really disappointed a lot because he came in really having performed well in spring training. But am I overreacting? I mean, it's 2-4 start. Pitching hasn't been that great. Hitting kind of gets there, but sometimes doesn't start the game right on time. But I think the pitching is something to talk about because if you don't get these guys turned around, you got to remember, April last year was a disaster, and they spent the whole year trying to play catch-up. This is a year with some expectations. Not expecting significant playoff wins, but we're expecting around 81 to 90 wins. This pace so far in their play has been concerning.
So based on ERA, this team is the 23rd best pitching staff. It's even worse when you look at the strikeouts, and that's what this team is supposed to be built on and supposed to be predicated on. I think it's more concerning that Casey Mize and Tariq Skubal have struggled as much as they have. And I know it's only one game. I know it's very early in the season, but their showings have left a lot more to be desired. And those are supposed to be the centerpieces of your rotation. I know Rodriguez is your ace, and I say ace with finger quotes. None of us are really buying that. none of us really are. It's going to be Casey Mize and it's going to be Tarek Skubal. Those are your guys. And on Sunday, Tarek Skubal got knocked around the park. Casey Mize didn't have a great showing in his first go. And for me, looking at what this team is putting out on the field as far as pitching goes, my main concern is them getting the ball over the plate. Strikeouts are incredibly low. They're the worst in all of Major League Baseball. This is a team that is supposed to basically blow the ball by you, or they're supposed to catch you looking and catch you swinging. And it's just not happening. Even if you're hitting balls into play and then the outs are coming, that's fine. But too many guys are getting on base. Too many guys are coming across home plate. And I think that's a huge issue for this team. And you're right. Go back to last year. Last year, they basically were a gas can early in the season. And then they spent the rest of the year trying to dig their way out. And they played really competitive down the stretch, but they had got themselves in such a bad hole. Right now, it's looking a little bit similar to that. For me, the one bright spot out of all of this is some of the bats. I've been thoroughly impressed with Javi Baez. Javi Baez was a guy that we both have shit canned. We didn't like that signing at all. And he's been arguably their best bat. He's had clutch hits, and the guy's moving guys across the plate, and he's getting runs. And he's had a couple of home runs that have been pretty clutch as well early in the season. So it's hard to really judge this team this early, but I think you can have some cause for concerns, especially with this pitching staff. I do think that, neither one of us, both of us last week when we were kind of going through this batting order, we thought it'd be much stronger than what it's kind of shown early on. Now, the thing about this team is historically, it starts very slow in the month of April. It really doesn't get going until late May and June, which is scary because, again, you can find yourself in a bit of a big hole. I've been pretty surprised at what I've seen with this batting lineup and just not being able to get runs across the plate. And conversely, concerns with the pitching staff letting runs across the plate. So some issues all the way around right now. And again, very early in the season, but some red flags going up for both of us.
Now, to reset from last week, I did end up staying local, did not go downtown, and to be honest, we enjoyed it. We had a lot of space, and
you look like you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time, and kicked the day off at 11:30, and it's a perfect time. Now, there was enough people, but not enough where it was packed, so it was perfect. You had arm room, you had the opportunity to get some food, and and I've learned too that when I start getting drinks in me, I don't get full. I crushed a huge-ass pretzel, and my wife's like, damn, you didn't leave any of it. I'm like, I know. We had meatballs, we ate and drank, and it was good. I tried a recommendation from Terry Foster, the great sports broadcaster, and he's like, I drink Maker's Mark. And I'm like, all right, let the tour continue. My 15th different one that I've tried this year, have not purchased it yet, but it went down smooth with the orange one, Blue Moon. So just kind of took it slow, had a good time with it. The game was slow at first, opening day, and then we were like, man, we can only hang till 2:30, and we were getting tired. We were like, the kids are gone. Do you just want to go nap? And I'm like, you know what? Probably what's going to happen is the Tigers' bats are going to pick up when we go home. And she's like, yeah, but is it something that you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, I got my fill. 3 hours was good. And just on cue, we get into the house, and the bats pick up in the 9th inning, and they get the W. So it was exciting. I was like, see, the DSP curse kicked in. The second I left, the bats kicked off. But I was disappointed because you would think after Javier Baez crushed that ball off the wall, which I guess, I don't know if it's a homer, whatever the deal was, it was considered a walk-off. Tigers win. The performances after that led you to believe that they lost the first game. Where was the momentum? You just had, it led me to go all fanboy and recreate the Will Smith slap, boom, we got the Central now. We own it. It didn't even last 24 hours. Where's the momentum? Come on. You would have thought that performance would have carried them at least to the series victory. You had a dud, and then you got your ass beat in the series finale, which Kenny predicted. He's like, come on, bro, you're being a fanboy, and it's not going to happen. Not only that, they didn't compete, which was the first game I attended, and I was like, this was lifeless, listless. So, I am 0-2 to start my run with covering the Tigers in 2022, my 5th year there. So it is crazy, and I agree. I just think that the listlessness of the roster and the play at times is crazy. The defense was sloppy, and it against the White Sox, they struggled to get the ball to first base. And you're like, what's going on here? Why is the defense playing to that degree? And A.J. Hinch said they were going to try to correct some things, but the sloppy field on Wednesday led to a big error by Jamer Candelario, which could not bail out Eduardo Rodriguez. The only bright spot, nice comeback, but Spencer Torkelson cranked one, and it was nice to see because there was nobody, literally, because there was like 500 people, if that. I was going to go down there and just be like, oh, let me just go sit in the stands, but I ended up staying in the Cush press box, and I'll say,
well, yeah, it was a bad day out.
Yeah,
there,
it
right?
was, but I could have stayed anywhere. I could have got on TV. I could have literally just had my fill. But it wasn't terrible. It was drizzling, and I said I could have gone out there, but Torkelson cranked it. It was a no doubter. Come back late. It could have happened, but in the end, the Red Sox leave with the series sweep. And bro, good baseball teams just come in and handle their business. They just hit. And they play good defense, and you could see what a good baseball team does. I mean, you could say, well, why did you start the game on Wednesday? The ump screwed no, well, the Red Sox showed up. They had no problem banging, Eduardo Rodriguez all over the field. They hit homers. They responded. After Scope hit a home run, they didn't cow down. They didn't back down. They put the pedal to the metal and destroyed the Detroit Tigers. So you sit at 2-4. It's not an overreaction. I think that things are going to pick up. Little concerning that Baez and Miguel Cabrera did not play on Wednesday, now that they're on their way to Kansas City. But I've been impressed with Javier Baez, kind of brings the muscle. And that at bat when he hit the home run, because everyone kind of was like excited because the pitcher there, cranked one out there and he kind of elevated a fastball that Baez got. And everyone's like, wait a minute, if you test Baez in this fastball, he'll do some things. And boy, did he ever, to hit his first home run, I think, against Boston. And he's been a nice addition. Kind of, that a player that, you feel like, okay, you know what you're going to get. He does get, in the first game, we joked around and we tweeted on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, his K rate's up there. He likes to swing. He's not going to take an at-bat off. He likes to take the bat off his shoulders and let it rip. But when he can connect, his bat has life, and I can see why people like it. But at the same time, cuz I can see in advance he is going to piss off Tigers fans because he swings a lot and he does strike out a lot. He is going to draw the ire of fans at some point when he leaves runners on base because he's a boomer bust player, which has become somewhat of the norm in Major League Baseball. But overall, I'm okay with Javi Baez. He's been okay, a nice addition, a nice bat. If the rest of the offense could get going, obviously Torkelson struggled in his first series, sat down on Monday, but came back and has done some things. So it's going to take a minute, but 2-4 start. I'm not terribly concerned, but I'm very, very much encouraged by Javi Baez.
I think the thing that Javi Baez brings that will maybe offset and kind of quell some of the upset ire of the fans. I mean, this guy has played pretty incredible in the field. I mean, shortstop is no longer a concern on this team. At least I'm not concerned with shortstop. And again, very early in the season, but he has made some pretty spectacular SportsCenter-like plays playing shortstop. This is a thing where last year you just had guys kind of rotating in playing shortstop, and some of these guys were pylons. Some of these guys could move a little bit. Some of these guys couldn't get the ball to first base. This guy's making plays off balance, leaping, falling backwards, and throwing guys out at first, which is incredible. So, I mean, if he can come in and he can hit the ball the way he's hitting the ball and drive runs across the plate, and then he can throw guys out at first base, I mean, it's going to offset, and I think that will help lead to wins, and I think that will help with, like you said, he's going to swing out. He's going to swing. He's going to strike out quite a bit. I mean, it's what he does. It's what he is. That was the one thing that we didn't like about the signing. This is a guy who has no problems with going up to the plate and swinging for the fences. And if he catches nothing but air, he's cool with it. And it's sometimes that's okay. But there are other times where you got to be smart and you just got to get on base and you just got to get yourself across the plate. You can't always swing for the fences. You sometimes just have to play smart baseball and put a pitcher in a pressure spot by getting on base. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how it plays out, but I love what he's doing in the field. You're right. He's going to swing. He's going to strike out. That's going to be a thing. But I don't think you can deny what this guy brings defensively to this team and how that helps this team out.
Now, we got to give flowers to Austin Meadows. Dude is raking.
He's been raking.
His play out in the outfield was a little bit stumbling out there on Wednesday in that a couple at-bats went. He looked a little out of position, looked a little out of sorts there playing at the big confines of Comerica Park. But I could see why. It's just huge out there, and you got to time it right. People were joking on one of the home runs. He jumped a little early, and people were like, man, Riley Green would have had that. He was just a little bit taller. He literally, if you look at the home run, he dives, and he might be like just 2 or 3 inches short of robbing a home run. So maybe he's not going to be a Gold Glove outfielder, but his bat just really helped out because you looked at the early series and the performances, a lot of cold bats to start the season, especially highlighted by Torkelson, which, look, when people say, oh, we had concerns, he started slow in the minors, slow your roll. We'll talk about it. Yes, he had a bad series, and that's what it was. I didn't make any conclusions. I just said he had a series to forget. That was the tweet. It's not like I said, oh, he's a bust or I'm disappointed or anything like that. I waited for 2 starts for Eduardo Rodriguez to say I'm not impressed. Torkelson, you're going to give him his whole rookie season. He basically gets a bye. He's facing pitches that he's never seen before. And if you go online, you see many Instagram accounts that show you just how quick a batter has to react to a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's like the blink of an eye. So give the guy slack, which we did. It's just he had a series to forget. He didn't, he had his family there, and it was funny because at opening day, every time the Tigers broadcast would go and interview somebody, a family member or somebody associated with the Tigers, something bad would happen. And my favorite was Chris Ilitch's waxing poetically, oh, this team is great. And then you got Shepard, oh, Chicago hits a 2-run double, and they're going to score, take a 4-1 lead. And Chris, tell us again why this team is going to be expected to win 85 games. Oh, you have a triple. And the Tigers are going to go down by 5 runs here in the first game here at Comerica Park. And I loved it because Chris Ilitch just sitting there trying to explain how good his team is. And it's always funny to see the spin that the local television stations will put on everything. But the bats got to wake up, and you got to get a lot more from these bats consistently. And what you saw was, and I love the fact that we are getting geeky with the baseball in here on the podcast. The Tigers were not able in the last 4 games to basically, in order to have sustained success, you got to have multiple runners on base. And they finally got it in the 6th and 7th inning later in the game on Wednesday. They finally got it, I believe, in the 8th when they made their run. But prior to that, single, okay, and that's it. And that was it. Like, you have to, yes, one person gets on base, then you have to actually have additional runners so that your big bats can drive in runs. When you have guys with multiple hits and 1 RBI, that indicates there's no runners on base. And so that's something that definitely, when you look at those numbers and splits, you'll definitely notice a major concern. Not a lot of runners, not a lot of base runners to be able to get runs in, and you can't live and die with 1-run homers. It's just not going to do anything because the opponent was able to get a lot of guys on base and have a lot of contact to be able to score runs. But, bro, if it's Boston and Chicago, if we fast forward to late October, I'll be happy. I would watch that. That will be fun to see the Red Sox and the White Sox in a series. You're going to have 9-8 games pretty consistently because those offenses can rake top to bottom, balance, power. It's luscious. JD Martinez. Oh, it was great to see.
Luscious.
It was luscious.
Luscious gets used.
Yes. Look, you don't like to see your team get their tail kicked in, but I saw runs. Unfortunately, it wasn't my team scoring them, but I saw like bat after bat, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. Scooble's getting his ass beat. Eduardo Rodriguez not doing his thing. But whatever. When you go to a baseball game, 2 things can happen. You can either see a quality defensive performance or pitching performance, or you can get a lot of home runs in a competitive game, and seeing runs is way better. Basically, offense drives attention. And for me, I got lucky. I got to see a lot of runs scored. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for the Tigers in my first 2 appearances. And, bro, next week, you got the Yankees coming to town. The Yankees. So I'm excited to see how it progresses. But, hey, early on, 2-4. Kansas City, you get a chance now to face a division foe, another one, and you got to go out there and handle some business because, like I said, you can't fall behind. You were 3-3 last year after 6. You can't fall behind the pace that you need to be at least 500 after April.
Yeah, I think for this team, the magic number is probably 87 games that you want to shoot for. I think everybody would be extremely pleased with 90, but starting off the way they've started off, you're really putting yourself in a little bit of a hole, and they've got some work to do. So schedule lightens up a little bit before it gets tight again. It gets a little bit more difficult. Kansas City, let's see if this team can handle their business. They got a 4-game stretch here at Kansas City, and start piecing some W's together. Let's go with some W's, get some dubs, and get this back to 500.
Yeah. Now, a team that did not get dubs in 2022, they accomplished their mission. The Pistons, after you saw what was going on, and boy, Vegas hit it. I think they had the number at 24, 25. So they were right there. People were like, huh? But yeah, they were a bad team. They have a good chance to land one of the top 3 picks. So you're going to get another impactful player. And this season for the Pistons, you look at it, they had some brutal stretches. They had some stretches where the play was not good. Obviously, when you have a team that's rebuilding like this, you wanted to basically peek in on a couple players. Saddiq Bey and Cade Cunningham really took a lot of attention besides the progress of Killian Hayes. And, that can be debated, but we're not going to spend too much time on Killian Hayes. The question, the big money-making idea, the big, bold topic that everybody online is debating, which skews your perspective when you're online and you see all the Piston homers and you're like, Cade Cunningham is no doubt number one. And you realize, okay, he's in the conversation. Of course he is. He played well. He was a leader. But you can't do it at the expense of the other candidates. Now, he is no doubt guaranteed lock. I think at least one of the top 2 rookies this year. But looking at the numbers, looking at the national perspective, you are aware that Detroit doesn't get respect. Cade Cunningham is going to suffer from the lack of attention that the NBA world would give the Detroit Pistons. I don't see the scenario in which Cade Cunningham wins the award. I don't see it. I think it's just the fans wanting to prop up their guy. Is he worthy of it? Yeah, he wouldn't be undeserving, but I just think logically speaking, he's not going to get the hardware. He's not going to be the rookie of the year. I think it's just something that the fans in Detroit are latching onto because of the fact he's our guy. But unfortunately, nationally speaking, Cade Cunningham, I don't think did enough to get the award.
Well, I think you can look at some stats that he's put out, and you compare him to other rookies. I mean, he's led all rookies in scoring, second in assists. He's third in steals, third in minutes, second in triple doubles. Like, those are big time stats. On top of that, he's had quite a few accomplishments this year that not a ton of guys have had. I think the big one that a lot of people point to is he shares a couple of records with Michael Jordan. He has a stat line of 34, 8 and 8 and 4 steals. Only him and Michael Jordan have done that as rookies, as well as Michael Jordan and Oscar Robertson, only to be the first rookies to ever average 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in a month with a minimum of 10 games. So there are some things that you can point to that lend some credibility to him actually being totally deserving of the award. And there is a strong argument that can be made with just the things that I've already laid out here, where I think things kind of get a little bit skewed, and it is that perspective, right? Detroit doesn't get a lot of favoritism. Detroit is never really looked upon favorably. On top of that, if you look at Cade's season and kind of how it started, when the Pistons were getting quite a few primetime games and getting games where they were being heavily televised with the national media, Cade wasn't going. Cade was really slow out of the gate. Most of Cade's work has been done late in the second half of the season. So when the cameras were on him and he had a chance to really show, now he was coming off of an injury, but when he had the chance to do those things, he looked very average, and he looked like he was a player who was trying to find his way. He looked like a guy who really, he walked in and everybody's like, okay, it's your team. And this dude is a brand new geek off the street. He's like, wait, what? And they're like, here's the keys to the car. Don't crash it. And he's like, I don't even know how to drive yet. And you could like, no, for real. Like you go back, you watch like the first 10, 15 games.
Yeah.
He looked like he was trying to figure things out. He looked like he was trying to figure out his way. On top of that, trying to lead this team. And those were some of the games that were nationally televised. And that's what a lot of people remember.
His numbers compare, though. Look, we're not saying he's not worthy.
No, for sure.
But I'm going to tell you the winner. I know the winner based on the way the league works.
I was going to say, who do you think wins it? Because I think it's a 3-man race.
It's a 3-man race. And I think third place is going to end up being Evan Mobley. Second place is going to be Cade Cunningham. Yep. And the winner will be Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors because, my God, scored double-digit points in all but 13 of 74 appearances, grabbed double-digit rebounds 12 times while dishing out 5+ assists another 21 times with a shooting percentage of 49%, a little bit less scoring at 15.3 points per game. But, oh, my God, when you look at his highlights, he got in the mix, and he's a go-to guy. He's a big three with Van Vliet and Pascal Siakam. I mean, that's pretty quick. And, unfortunately, will Cunningham be punished by the fact that he basically has nothing around him besides maybe one or two? Probably, and I think that's where this is going. Is Scotty Barnes is going to win the hardware, but Cade Cunningham put himself in the conversation. That's all you can do. I don't think he should take offense to it. Unfortunately, it's collectively a scenario in which I think the voters are going to look at Scotty Barnes' rookie stats and give him the hardware.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Scotty Barnes is rookie of the year, followed by Cade Cunningham, followed by numbnuts Evan Mobley.
Yep.
So it just like you said. Here's the thing too. In the things that count against Cade Cunningham, Scotty Barnes started the season so hot.
Yes,
Scotty Barnes was lighting it up when the big lights were on him. He was crushing it, and it was one of those things where you got to see that. You got to see this player really flourish. Now you look at his stat lines, and you kind of look at where he finished in comparison to Cade Cunningham and the other rookies. He's generally behind Cade in a lot of the categories, but he's top 5 in 7 statistical categories. Like, that is telling you he's a well-rounded player who has complete control of his game at this time, and he'll probably get the nod. On top of it, Toronto's a pretty big market. The Raptors are a pretty good team, relatively speaking. So it's one of those things, you know, does the record go into account with this award? I think a little bit. I don't think it's just purely statistical. It's what you were able to bring and how were you able to help your team. I think we all agree Toronto's a much better team than Detroit is, at least right now. But in the end, Cade will probably end up finishing second, which I wonder how this works though. I have a theory. You tell me if I'm crackpot crazy. I think it's good if Cade loses this. I think it's good if they disrespect Cade and Cade doesn't take home the honor.
Facts.
I think it puts a bigger chip on his shoulder.
Yes.
I think he comes out and he plays harder and it makes him more of a killer. And
Absolutely.
I love that.
I love it. Absolutely love your thinking. Exactly. Don't give him any shine, no love. Let him get back there and get hungry. But finally, at least Troy Weaver said what everybody knew. This team needs scoring. And whether it be from Duke, if you get Chet Holmgren, whoever it may be that you decide to bring in here, please, can we up the scoring? Too many droughts, too many missed opportunities, too many missed three-pointers. You have to allow Cade Cunningham to distribute to guys that when they have an opportunity to create their shot will knock it down. The offense looks okay, but bottom line, there were too many times where there were lulls in the second half, and that's been a bugaboo for the Pistons for the better part of a couple seasons. They just have these lulls where they let the opponent handle their business, and their defense doesn't, live up to the billing. Now, for me, I'll say this before we move on to the Lions' defense. I'm not sold that Dwayne Casey should return. I'm not sold that this is the best coach for the Pistons to lead the rebuild. And I guess he's going to, get on the Detroit retirement culture plan where because the teams are rebuilding, you get an extra pass and you get to say, well, I didn't give him no talent. But you still had Cade Cunningham. You only won 23 games.
Yeah.
You still could have won
I think
27-30.
Was really disappointing because this was a season where we expected them to take a huge step forward. Remember how they finished last year? Last year they started putting games together. They looked like a cohesive unit. Next thing you know, you bring in this stud rookie, and he's supposed to help catapult you to that next level, and it just didn't really happen. At least it didn't happen quickly. And I think as the season kind of wore on, they figured some things out. But really and truly, you're right. This team needs to find three-point shooting. They need to find guys who can hit it from the perimeter. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA from behind the arc, and they're one of the worst perimeter shooting teams. If you've got a guy like Cade Cunningham who can dribble, who can drive, who can penetrate, if you can work some pick and roll, some pick and pop, and you get a guy who can stand out beyond the arc and put threes up and hit threes at a respectable clip, I mean, it's a totally different team. All of a sudden, you're not talking about a team that has won 23 games. All of a sudden, you're talking about a team that is at least in contention. It's a team that you're talking about playing in one of these ridiculous play-in games. But mind you, I still don't necessarily understand these stupid play-in games. I think they're absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
But that being said, you're instead of looking at a team that's got 23 wins, you're now looking at a team that's in the low to mid 40s, and all of a sudden you've got a playoff spot. And the whole conversation then changes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. The conversation changes when you get the opportunity now to add a little bit more in free agency because your cap situation lightens up. You get to add another top player in the draft, and you obviously...
Do they move on from Jeremy Grant? I'm going to ask you now. Do they move on from Jeremy Grant? I think they have to.
They have to. I think... he provides the opportunity to get you some capital that could potentially you could do something with. So I think that's going to be probably the scenario in which you see some moves made by Troy Weaver is to get some things done. But I hope he was accurate in saying that he wants to build a sustained winner. Cade Cunningham was a success. He gets an A- in regards to his rookie season. I think that he got it. He has the ability to facilitate, play within the team concept, and has the poise and makeup that you want to see from the number one pick. So far, so good. Let's see what year 2 of this plan will look like with Cade Cunningham and the next top 3 pick for the Pistons. But yeah, 23 wins, definitely a slow process in regards to the Pistons rebuild, no doubt about it. Now, turning our attention to the Detroit Lions. They made a signing on Wednesday. We had kind of figured that when you survey the landscape, there was only a handful of oft-injured defensive backs that the team could take a chance on. So a couple of days ago on Monday, I put out an article at SIL Lions saying, hey, there's a hard-hitting safety named Deshaun Elliott, young, 24. The Ravens said, you can go about your business. So the Lions said, hey, he was with the Ravens. Let's scoop him up, and let's hope that he can stay healthy. And that is something we joked about before we started recording. He fits the bill. Often injured, has potential, willing to sign in Detroit for 1 year, just like a bunch of other players. He got a prove-it deal, and it's the Detroit prove-its, baby. And in 2021, they did not prove jack shit. But some people got some contracts. Alex Ancelotti's back. You're like, Jesus, what did he do to... I mean, what did he do to earn his contract? I was like, okay. But Deshaun Elliott will be a thumper. He has the hunger. I think he'll be looking to prove some things. If he stays healthy, it's a good signing to pair along Tracy Walker, because anybody that can move off of Will Harris, whether you put him in the slot or at cornerback, whatever he was doing at safety was not a fit. It's just there were so many plays that the opponents looked to target him, to confuse him, and it just, at this point in time, he may be a roster casualty, or he may be a person that just needs a position switch or something different to happen, because he struggled mightily. You need, obviously, everybody knows it, the offense has stuff, weapons, has things to work with, because the defense, you could argue, needs 15 new players. The defensive line has potential, but Charles Harris is, coming off of 1 year of productivity, but he's been inconsistent. McNeil and Onwuzurike are young players that still need to show more. And your linebacking core, you could argue, needs a major overhaul, and you got prove-it guys. How many guys from the draft are they going to target on defense? I'm hoping 5 to 6. Defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerback, safety. You need 4 or 5 guys on this defense. And cause I'm still going to argue, we're talking if you draft 4 or 5 guys on defense, they all hit, which doesn't happen. Levi was drafted. He didn't play well. Derek Barnes took forever to get on the field, and he still looked like he was a player that was learning. Ifeatu Melifonwu got his opportunity. Boom, he goes down with injury. Those are the things that can happen. So when everybody says build through the draft, yeah, you got 9 picks, 4 or 5 might show you something, and then 2 might get hurt. So you're looking at something where you got to say that the biggest concern that should leave you guys with your head scratching when you look at this team is they need an overhaul linebacker, they need a safety, they need a cornerback, and 1 or 2 more defensive linemen who can rush the quarterback. So I'm nervous about this defense and their ability to stop people. And I get what they're doing. I mean, it's not, listen, football, guys, is not rocket science. They want to build a running game so that the defense can stay off of the field. And they're going to get in games where there's going to be opportunities to make some plays, and they just want to make that 1 or 2 plays late. That's how they're doing it. Just like Matt Patricia. It's similar in that form, in that they're not going to be dominant too often on defense. Not yet, at least not in 2022. They're looking to hang on, make the 1 play late, whether it be on offense or defense. So it's going to be the cardiac cats yet again. But when you look at that defense top to bottom, you look at those names, Chris Board, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Jeff Okudah coming back from injury.
Well, let's play a game real quick, because I thought this was interesting when we were show prepping this, because the way this came across on my phone is, let's talk about the Lions and let's talk about how good this defense can be. And I was like, the hell are you talking about? I was like, do you know something? I don't know. So I went and I pulled the roster, and I've got an up-to-date roster that I'm staring at. And I was like, the hell is John smoking?
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, the entire thing needs to be overhauled. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to name some guys, and I want you to tell me which one of these guys would play on a playoff caliber team. And when I say playoff caliber team, right, I mean a team that was in the playoffs, that would start for a team that was in the playoffs last year. So a team like Tampa Bay, a team like the Rams, a team like the Bengals,
right, absolutely,
a team like, I don't know, insert name here. Any one of those teams. I'm going to go through them and name some guys. And you tell me if they make another roster as a starter.
Absolutely. Okay? But to clarify, I probably meant to say how good can it get based on the improvement that they're going to add 5-6 players. I think that's the part that you got to look at, is you got to have a lot of things go right. But not before the draft.
Well, that's the thing.
Before the draft, I'm nervous. Well, so here's the thing. I think what you said is spot on. This is a team that they've got to load up in the draft, and they've got to go out. They're not going to make another. They're not going to make a splash free agent signing this year. So what do they have to do? They've got to go grab 3 or 4, 5 guys that are going to make an immediate impact on this roster. So let's just start at the top, right? So DN Michael Brockers, he's not starting on anybody's absolutely
team.
not. No,
he's old. Aleem McNeil. I don't think he's a starter on a playoff team. I think he's got potential, but he's not a starter.
Right, absolutely. So no,
you've already talked about Onwuzurike.
Nope, not at all.
Charles Harris.
Yeah, I think so. If he's at the level of production, I think he could play on a playoff team.
Would he be a rotational player? Or would he be the starter? Because I could see him being a rotational player, but I don't see him being a starter.
Well, if you give me 1 more year, you could say that. But yeah, probably at this point a rotational player. In the mix, right. heavily in the mix, 40-50% of snaps.
We'll both have a laugh at this. Alex Anzalone.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Derek Barnes.
No.
Oruwariye.
No.
Okay. I think he's a bit of a tweener. Definitely a rotational player. I think he could start on a bad playoff team. Deshaun Elliott. I mean, he just got cut by he was let go. The Baltimore didn't re-sign him, so he's always injured. So
always injured. Yep. Nope. Yep.
Tracy Walker.
Yes.
Okay, I can see Tracy Walker being a starter on somebody's team. We can go Jerry Jacobs and Jeff Okudah.
No.
And there you go.
One.
So out of everybody we named one guy. We named one guy who's a rotational guy, and another guy who is a bit of a tweener and probably a rotational guy. Like, you've got nothing on this defense. Like, it needs to be completely overhauled. And you need more talent, and it's just not there.
Yeah, so absolutely, you got to get Kayvon Thibodeau, or you got to get high-end talent, trade back, maybe capital, Jermaine Johnson. And I wrote an article, 5 nightmare scenarios. I've locked it in. It has to be one of the pass rushers at number 2.
Has to be, right?
Has to be. Now, in talking with other people, talking with you, I could see the justification for drafting a quarterback because it buys you time. You could sell, look, we have a guy, we need another year. Now you buy year 3 and 4 with Malik Willis. Now, I'll say it. I don't have no problem saying it. If Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are on the Detroit culture rebuild, plan where they want to maximize how many years they stay on the job and earn money from Sheila, they'll take Malik Willis. Because it's a Liberty quarterback. You have 3 on your roster. You have a guy with experience. Nobody's thinking that Malik Willis is going to play in 2022. And everybody says, and Dan Campbell said, you need a day 1 starter. So if you're milking the culture and you're milking the contract that you have, to get 4 years out of Sheila, then you take Malik Willis. If you want to start winning and really doing things that people will be impressed with, you got to take an edge rusher and help your defense.
Bro, I'll be so pissed if they take a quarterback with this draft.
I think I wouldn't be. I would obviously understand it from that perspective. I mean, a couple $100K another year to do the job, it's fine. But no, I don't see Malik Willis winning anytime soon. I mean, we're looking at then 2024, 2025 at best before the playoffs. So no, you have to take an edge rusher. You got to start doing something now to help this defense. You got to start building. And they said they're building through the trenches. So Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, Trayvon Walker, handle your business, get a pass rusher, and let's go. You're getting an Aquara back, Harris, and the development of Austin Bryant and the Julian Aquara. So let's go. Let's start the knee biting. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only way that I see this team getting better, right? Because I think you have some pieces on offense, like you said. I think the only way this team gets better is if you invest heavily this year in the draft.
Yes.
Go grab some defensive players who are going to make an immediate impact. I think if this team wastes a first-round draft pick on a quarterback, or even a second-round draft pick on a quarterback, it is a total FU to what you have going on here. If this team is going to be serious, if this team is all about winning and building a sustained winner and building a legit franchise that is not laughed at, this team will not draft a quarterback. If this team goes out and drafts a quarterback late in round 1, goes out and drafts a quarterback in round 2, this team is not serious about winning. The only way this team wins, the only way this team gets better is by going out at the very top of this draft, either moving back but still keeping yourself in a spot where you can go grab one of those impactful edge rushers, coming back later on in the second or in the first round and grabbing another impactful starter, a guy who's going to contribute day 1, and you follow that up with what you do in round 2. I think for this team, their first 4 to 5 draft picks all have to pan out. All have to be guys that give you time and give you reps every single week. They have to be. You have to get at least 3 starters out of your first 5 rounds.
You got to, exactly. And so how good can they be? I want to see improvement. I like the fact that they were ball hawk on defense. A lot of turnovers. I want to see that. But unfortunately, you had tough injuries. Jeff Okudah could be a liability. Jerry Jacobs, how does his injury affect his development? AJ Parker still young. So you got a bunch of guys on prove-it deals that were cast off from their other organizations. I mean, imagine this. A linebacker and a safety are let go by the Baltimore Ravens, who are not in the business of letting go of players that are talented from their defense. Mm-hmm. They're not in that business. So you're taking the Ravens scraps. Okay, let's see how they do. Let's see how they handle a lot of these prove-it deals. Who steps up? Who wants their money? And when they do, are you going to keep a lot of these guys? We'll see. We'll see how they patch this together. But how good the defense is going to be definitely is a major, major concern that we got to pay attention to all throughout the early parts of the 2022 season. All right, final topic here. Last 5 minutes, 300 seconds. You got to sell me on why my busy ass. It's funny, guys, because Adam will send out a topic, and most of the time we're out like 99.9%. Like, okay, I want to talk about this, and Adam's like, yeah, and we're right on it. Adam's like, tell me if the USFL is going to be competitive. And I almost was going to be like, cause this is not even DSP podcast worthy. I'm like, I don't even know. I know it's the Panthers. I know it's Shea Patterson, number 1, I think. And I know it's Jeff Fisher is the coach of one of the teams, and that's the Panthers. And after that, that's all I know. And I now know it's on one of the streaming sites. It's got a hub, I think, on Peacock.
It's gonna be on. Yeah, it's gonna be on NBC. It's gonna be on Fox.
Yeah. So I'm like, USFL. I mean, that's a lot. That's gonna be a lot of shit to watch. I don't know what the hell it's gonna be. It's a spring football league, which the expectation is gonna be god fucking awful. I mean, I'm gonna pay attention to the Panthers, but here's the whack ass nature of what's going on. You're like, all right, let's get, and I'll share this now. I'm spending a lot of money, and lately, what I've been doing is I bought an AEW hat, I bought an AEW scarf. I've been repping the things that I like, and I want to buy scarves. I want to go to the things that I want to go support the Michigan Panthers. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Where are they playing?
They're in Alabama, bro. You got to drive by tickets to go to Alabama.
I'm like, in the South? What kind of fucking cockamamie plan is this? We're all playing in the South. So I'm going to cheer for the Panthers who are playing in the South, and their merchandise is not readily, they're not doing a good job. I'm on social media. I follow them. They're not blowing up my Twitter. They're not blowing up any videos. They're not having Jeff Fisher go on any of these networks. Nobody from the USFL has messaged me to come on or messaged to come on and do some promotion. So they're not making it they don't have a strong digital presence, at least with the sites I'm following. So what are you guys doing? What's your plan here? How are you going to do well? So look, to be honest, all kidding aside, it's tough when we watch football at the highest level. The last game we watched was an amazing contest between the Rams and the Bengals. You can't go from that. It's like going from WWE, AEW to 8 Mile Wrestling at, the Mac Warehouse.
The local Beagle Hall.
Yeah, exactly. I can't do it unless it's like, okay, it's free and you show me a little bit of chivalry and say, hey, can we come on your podcast? Okay, maybe I'll look. But I'm going to look at it because you believe in football and you like it, sports. I'm going to check it out and passively look at the USFL, and I'm going to follow the Michigan Panthers. And lo and behold, they better not win the championship where we can't celebrate them because they're playing in Alabama. Do they even know? I haven't even looked to even bother to look. Are they getting a stadium? They're building one for them?
So I don't know how that's going to end up working out, but the whole thing was because the league was put together so quickly. They were just like, everybody will play in Alabama for the first year. And that'll allow them time to kind of work out their stadium negotiations. Look, the whole point of this was, one, to draw attention to it, right? Because I'm excited for it. But the thing is, I don't think it's going to be a good product. I don't think it's going to be a great product. I think this is going to be something that will draw eyes because it's football. We enjoy football. We like football. I think as it goes along, it will probably get better. I think the real key here for this entire organization to do well and to be something that it once was, at some point you've got to be able to go and draft actual viable players who are going to go to the NFL. And Doug Flutie got his start here. I think Chris Carter got to start here. There are guys who played in the league who are Hall of Fame players who got their start in the USFL. You've got a guy like Shea Patterson who wasn't very good at Michigan, ends up getting a walk-on contract to go play in Kansas City, gets cut before the last preseason game, and he's your first overall draft pick of the entire league. Basically, Shea Patterson is a trivia question right now.
Yeah,
Who was the first draft pick of the reincarnated USFL? Shea Patterson.
Of the Michigan Panthers.
I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I don't think the product's going to be great, but I think it'll be interesting, and I think it'll be fun to watch.
Okay, major violation already in my brief 40-second jaunt into the USFL. The Michigan Panthers begin their season on Sunday, April 17th at noon. Do you happen to know what day that is? For those of us that are of the religious inclination, that's freaking Easter. So I'll be, receiving the Holy Sacrament,
Holy Eucharist.
The Holy Eucharist, trying to repent for all my sins, for all my impure thoughts, for all the coveting that I do of the neighbors,
All the things you look at on Instagram.
Right. All the coveting I'm not supposed to be doing. I got to repent every Sunday. I'll be at church. I can't watch this. So I got to, all right.
You got to DVR, bro.
I got to, if it's on network television, I'll DVR it, but it's on Easter.
You better watch it while you're in the back of church.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on.
Jesus wants to know what's going on
exactly.
with the USFL. He's tried and true Michigan Panther.
Exactly. Shea Patterson and Clayton Thorson matchup. All right. Woo. All right, let's see what happens. I'm going to check it out because it's sports and there is a team that people have been familiar with. And lo and behold, Shea Patterson.
Look, they had some of the best gear back in the day.
Yeah.
We can't find any of the gear right now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they had some of the best gear.
Exactly. It's like, come on, dude. That's not how you do things. We're all playing in Alabama. All right, man, do your thing. Let's see what happens. Every look. I mean, I don't get it. It's the weirdest thing. It does have this weird feel of like this, like gross necessity to try and milk money from football. It's like they see that the National Football League is printing money. They see the billion-dollar deals. They know that there's so many more players. But bottom line, there are 32 teams and 50 players on those teams. So that is 1,500 players. Do I really care what 1501 through 2000 are doing? No, the best players in the world play in the National Football League. Stop trying to... the XFL at least did it right, where they at least have partners in the NFL, and at least they're going to try and, maybe get a deal where they get a little bit of subsidies or something. But
that's what the USFL has something similar. This is supposed to be they have some type of team up with the National Football League. The broadcasters of this first game that's taking place on Saturday at 7:30. They are the NFL broadcasters. They are guys from I think it's NBC's network will be doing it. So probably Mike Tirico and somebody else.
Okay, so let's see what this is about. We'll have an open mind and we'll give our review quickly.
See, what's great? You were like 5 minutes for this and let's go. You didn't even want to do this topic. You just sat there and bloviated about it for 15 minutes.
No, 7. It was 7. 45 to 50. It was 7 minutes.
Timed it.
Yeah, it was 7 minutes. Not too bad. I mean, listen, you could give me a topic. We'll bloviate on it for a long time because we get jokes in the mix and we get our complaints and then our extra comments that we got to make that are really unrelated to anything we're talking about. So it earned an extra 120 seconds because of the Michigan Panthers and Shea Patterson. Maybe we'll draw an extra rating here or there. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. But nobody's going to be clamoring for Shea Patterson in the NFL anytime soon. But, look, not to be crass, but Colin Kaepernick might have found an opportunity to get back on an NFL roster. I hear a job's open, maybe in Pittsburgh. You never know.
I mean, that's true.
All right, with that, let's end this edition of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm just saying, I heard, that rumor is there might be an opening, which is bad because that was the first thought I had outside of the nonsense that was reported on that topic.
I was thinking maybe Colin Kaepernick could come to the USFL.
Yeah.
He'd make an immediate impact and it'd be interesting. Just seeing him cut these dudes up would be great.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast, where you can get the worst sarcastic takes of all time via the Twitter platform. But it's where people go to complain. It's where Detroit sports fans get real sports coverage. No spin zone. We tell it like it is. Boom. If we think something, we see something, it's on there on Twitter, and we greatly appreciate it. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, type in Detroit Sports Podcast, and our content, our daily content, will find you. Thanks, cuz. Let's let it rip again. Next week, go Tigers and Red Wings. You know what to do. Make the call. Push the button. And the Jeff Blashill era. Cuz, let's talk soon.